Welcome to another episode of Times and Tides. You raised an issue whether those people were really seeing the real elephant or not, and hence the depiction. I like to now bring two connections here and ask you a question. The connection is, you always refer Mamallapuram's, that male depiction as the most perfect, and you seem to have fallen in love with that depiction. That and about the differences in the in the structure or biology, or I would say morphology, of Asian and African elephants. I only know that African elephants have broad ears compared to Indian elephants. Now, when you say Mamallapuram elephant is a perfect depiction of an Indian male musk elephant, what are the features that you look into?
See, if you look at
what are the features that would identify, let us say, in Asian elephant?
See, we spoke about Professor Lahiri Chaudhary, right?
Okay.
He would go gaga about the perfect elephant. Is an elephant, is a Kumariya Bandh, which is what I told you, is a barrel-shaped elephant, excellent body condition, tusked, maybe 40, 50 years old, and in mast. Okay. This is something that has been glorified in all depictions. If you look at Ashoka's depiction of Gajatame, at Kalsi, which is, at Kalsi, which is not very far from Dehradun, along the banks of the Yamuna. It is Gajatame is a supreme elephant, but if you look closely at that engraving, it's an elephant in mast.
I see.
Okay, so wherever the Gajasastra is full about descriptions of elephants in mast. King Akbar had 101 elephants, and he would kind of take delight in when the elephant comes into mast, because he would like to sit on it and ride the elephant and tame the elephant and all of that.
But that's very dangerous, isn't it?
Of course, very dangerous, but that's what they reveled in.
Especially mast elephant.
Yeah, so they showed their prowess by saying that we are able to now control the elephant in mast. So the mast elephant has always been celebrated through our history. Now, if you look at the Mamallapuram elephant, it is not only a perfect Kumariya Bandh in terms of the proportions, and so on and so forth. But I think art historians missed a very vital fact. If you look at the temporal region, there is a slight swelling. Slight swelling.
The must pheromone producing.
The must gland is swollen, which means it is secreting. So they are also celebrating an elephant in must.
And that artist was so perfect in his depiction.
Beautiful. It's a wonderful depiction. That kind of proportion is very, very rare to see a real elephant in the wild today.
I see.
But also look at the rest of the scene. There is a female elephant close to it, with a leg raised. In a very, very natural pose. There are young calves that are gamboling, crawling between the legs of these elephants and so on. So somehow that particular scene, it's a kind of masterful rendition of an elephant family. A bull elephant in mast is more likely to be associated with a female elephant in estrus. That female is showing certain signs of estrus, interest in the male, etc., etc. And this bull is in mast. So it's a masterful depiction. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You seem to have studied every inch of that statue.
Well, my interpretation as a biologist.
Okay. So if we keep that as the model of, let us say, the Asian elephant male, how does that differ from the African elephant male? How does one differentiate an African elephant male?
African elephant male, I don't think is very different. It also comes into mast. And in terms of behavior, it's something very similar to what our elephants come into mast. And therefore, it's not very different. Per se, it's not very different. Where you might get differences are in terms of social organization. Because, for instance, some of in Africa, you go to the savannah. You are likely to see sometimes small elephant groups, sometimes very large elephant groups. You will find 100, 150, 200 elephants together. All gathered together. Simply because resources are available in plenty in the African savannas. After the rains, the grass is available in plenty. So the entire clan of elephants come together and they socialize and so on. Our elephants, Indian elephants, are somewhat like, you do get large groups, maybe 10, 15, 20, 30 at times, but these are becoming quite rare because resources are more limiting in our type of forests. So they will not like to compete with each other. They'll have to move in somewhat smaller groups. To be able to efficiently forage, to able to get their resources. But, recently I had been to the jungles of the Congo. And that taught me a very, very different lesson about the elephant. All of us, are generally enamored by the high level of sociality in elephants. The bonding between elephants, the female family members,
Kins.
the female elephants, females and her sisters and so on and so forth. But you go to Central African Republic and you see that this kind of a bonding is not there. You get these very, very small groups. And even when these elephants come out in an open area in very large numbers, they are kind of mostly in small groups of 2 or 3 or 4. Only unit families. And they are intensely competing with each other for mineral-rich water. And the kind of antagonistic kind of behaviors that you see there, you don't see here. Here you see 20 elephants, 30 elephants, they are bunched together. There's kind of cooperative protection of the young, and so on and so forth. They're exchanging information by touching each other with the trunks, putting the trunk into the mouth of another elephant.
Typical Indian joint family.
Whatever, and so on and so forth. But there you don't see that. I see 50 elephants, I see 100 elephants. They are all spread out. They're trying to avoid competition or they're trying to compete with each other by jostling with each other.
Is that because of the rarity of resources there compared to...
I think it's a rarity of one resource, which is a mineral like sodium perhaps. Like all mammals are prone to deficiency in sodium.
You in fact write on this importance of sodium and protein and all. I guess your PhD work is also on that. I mean, these nutrients shape the behavior of elephants so strongly.
It has to, it's such a large animal. It needs not only a lot of food, it also needs to get all the necessary nutrients in terms of protein to keep up their body condition. And all mammals, as you know, are generally prone to deficiency of sodium. So that's the principle of, even humans craving for salt, and we take too much of salt, obviously. But in our genes, there is some code which says that, go for salty foods. So elephants also go on search for environmental sodium. Calcium is also likely to be limiting in elephants. The amount of bone and calcium that has to go into bone and tusk and so on and so forth.
So coming to these differences between species, I again was amazed to find that you tell about Aristotle identifying 3 different species. And then the another issue I wanted to know, I'm sure the viewers also will be interested. Did mammoth actually lived along with the Elephas maximus, the Asian elephant and the European elephant? And how is that Aristotle perhaps had this knowledge of the differences between species? Or is it someone else in the name of Aristotle like so many people do?
No, I have forgotten what I have written about Aristotle. So I will not comment upon that. But coming to your question about whether the mammoth coexisted along with Elephas maximus, the mammoth became extinct only about 4,000 years ago.
I see. Okay. So obviously they were coexisting.
They did, but not in the same range, obviously. Completely different range. They were adapted to a life of cold in the tundra, Arctic tundra, Siberia, and northern Europe, and so on and so forth. And majority of mammoths became extinct by about 10,000 years ago, 11,000 years ago.
They last around 4,000.
But a small populations were isolated on islands off the coast of Siberia and in the Bering Strait. So Wrangel Island was one of them, off the coast of Russia. And remarkably, what happened when they got isolated over a period of about 6,000 years, because sea levels rose and they were trapped on this island, the mammoths started becoming smaller and smaller. There were no predators, resources are limiting, and therefore it doesn't make sense for you to grow very large in body size. So natural selection, it selected for smaller body size. And these elephants, the mammoths, the last mammoths that became extinct, were only the maximum height was only about 6 feet.
Like our Asian elephant?
No, our Asian elephant is still 10 feet in the male, for instance. The females are 8 feet.
So the mammoth was not the mammal when it died?
No, it was not a mammoth. It was not of, kind of mammoth proportions. They were kind of much smaller. But something more remarkable happened during the Pleistocene in the island of Sicily, where elephants had dwarfed to such an extent. There's an elephant, Elephas falconeri, that had dwarfed to 3 feet in height.
Oh.
Adult female elephant. Can you ever imagine an adult female elephant which is just 3 feet in height?
Like
it's
our
just like
small
your
kids.
little dog. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And the baby of 3 foot thing would be
Will be 1
hardly
feet, half a feet.
not something
Oh,
like that.
that is surprising.
Yeah, very very small.
And why did that size? Again, because of a similar reason that no predators and
No predators. So
and no resources.
So election, so say, kind of evolution kind of reverses its trend.
Okay.
You grow large in body size because it's one way of escaping from fierce predators. There are no predators. That selection force is gone.
Yeah.
And secondly, the resources are limiting on an island.
Okay.
And therefore the selection is there towards smaller body sizes.
But why did mammoths became extinct? The same reason of resource availability or something else?
Yeah, you see, the question of why the mammoth became extinct has been very much debated over the past several decades. And there are no clear answers. You might think that they became extinct only 4,000 years ago, or majority of them became extinct 10,000 years ago, or whatever. But there are no clear answers. Climate change is supposed to have played a major role. But whether climate change killed off the last mammoths or not is not very clear. Let me explain this. See, the 20,000 years ago is what we call the last peak glaciation, or the last glacial maximum.
Okay.
When the Earth was on average 5 degrees Celsius cooler than what it is today.
I see.
So the type of vegetation was very different globally. And then came a phase of warming between about 20,000 and about 10,000 years ago, when the Earth warmed. And the nature of the vegetation changed completely. With the result that the woolly mammoth, that is now adapted to a life in the tundra, and all the other plants that go in the tundra, now had to cope with living in a much warmer world.
Okay.
And therefore climate change possibly had an adverse impact.
So the food also changed.
Yeah, but at the same time, you can't discount the role of humans. Because humans now started occupying these areas. Modern humans went across the Bering Strait from Siberia into North America. And there were people called the Clovis people in North America who hunted mammoths, possibly actively. And therefore, possibly, maybe even spread diseases. Okay, so possibly a combination of climate change, human hunting, and the spread of diseases through the humans migrating possibly delivered the final blow to the mammoths.
Oh my God, I see. Now, that you say about the whole species getting extinct probably because of humans. You also now mentioned somewhere that there was the Central Asian or Central Eastern Asian places, there was a small population of elephant that also has become extinct in the areas of Iraq and those places. Right. Why could that extinction have happened?
Right. If you look at the distribution of modern day Asian elephant, Elephas maximus, it goes back, on the western side, you have fossils of Elephas maximus in countries like Iraq and Turkey. So there was a population of Asian elephants there.
Okay.
I've already mentioned to you that somebody offered a tribute of elephants to an Egyptian ruler, and that was an Asian elephant. It's a Syrian elephant. Now, whether that was a population of elephant, there is again been a discussion whether these were captive elephants that were taken there, and whether the population of captive elephants was established there, or they were isolated 6,000 years ago because of natural climate change. And they got, and therefore, and these populations would have been a small population. So they were hunted, they were captured.
Invading depression.
Also capture and hunting. So possibly a combination of all of this perhaps rendered this population extinct.
Okay. I have another question which actually emanates from my memories of a talk that my wife gave almost 40 years back. There was a paper in Nature. This is about why elephants eat bamboo and rabbits grass. You have been telling that elephants also eat grass, but you relate this demand of heavy, forage into the body of the elephant with the metabolic rate and all that. So, and you put your elephant at the almost right hand side of this whole metabolic rate. That is, metabolic rate is being very low, body size being very high. And you also now relate lot of behavioral aspects of elephants, of home range, their food consumption, etc., with this allometric relation between the metabolic rate and the body weight. To the viewers, can we now put across that particular concept in the most simple terms as to how all our behaviors depends upon the rate at which we now respire?
Right. This has to do with, if you look at a large animal needs a lot of food. Okay. But as a proportion of your body weight, it actually consumes much less than a smaller animal. Because a small animal loses body heat very quickly.
Because of high perimeter.
The ratio of your surface to your volume
is very high
is very
small
high
animals.
In small animals. And therefore, your metabolic rates are much higher. And therefore, you lose body heat very quickly. Unlike a very large creature.
In other words, a rat loses the heat much more and faster than an elephant.
Absolutely.
And when it loses the heat, that means it has to expend a lot of energy.
Absolutely. Or if you take, for instance, a room, you keep one elephant which is weighing 1 ton. In another room, you put a large number, hundreds of rats, also weighing 1 ton.
Okay.
I said, sometimes we ask this question to a student, who comes for an interview. You are now the supplier of food to these, rats and to the elephant. Where will you supply more food? Okay. Very often people get the answer wrong. They say to the elephant. But actually you need to supply more food to the rats. To the rats.
Of the same weight.
Totaling the same weight. Because they lose
their metabolic rates. So they turn over the food much faster in the rats than in the...
Absolutely.
Please go ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah. So what happens is the elephant, as a proportion of its body weight, they perhaps require about not more than about 2% of their body weight. In terms of forage. On a given on a given day. And when they feed, things like bamboo, for instance, it's not that they don't feed on grass. They like grass very much. They feed on tall grasses. They also feed on short grasses because short grasses are more nutritious compared to the tall grasses. Short grasses have much higher levels of protein. But such short grasses are not available around the year. It's only during the monsoon period that the short grasses grow sufficiently. So very often elephants have to feed on the tall grasses, where much of their energy comes from fermentation of cellulose, in the intestinal system. A lot of the energy essentially comes from products of fermentation. Now elephants feed on bamboo. Elephants have a liking for bamboo. And bamboo is a grass, it's a tall grass. And bamboo usually maintains a fairly constant level of protein throughout the year. So seasonally, if you take the monsoon season, they can get high protein food from the grasses. But during the dry season, they can't get high protein because the protein level falls in the grasses. But in the bamboos, the protein level is still relatively high. And therefore, they can still feed on bamboo and they can maintain their body.
And also the digestion of bamboo is slow. Slow digestion means slow release of energy, which is what elephants require compared to rats.
Essentially, yes. Essentially, yes.
Now that the metabolic rate is the one that decides how much you consume, that also defines the home range, correct?
Right. So animals that require a large amount of quantity of food, absolute quantity of food is greater. And if you were to forage in a very small area, depending on the productivity of that area, you might exhaust all the resources. So you need to go around. At the same time, I think there are two other factors. So one factor is that you are trying to optimize your nutrient intake. And the seasonally, depending on the phenological stage of the plant, fruits are available during certain seasons and in certain areas. The protein content of plants vary according to whether it's a dry season or the wet season. So you try to optimize the food intake and the intake of other nutrients like minerals, for instance, by trying to go to the places where you get during a given season the best type of food that you take.
So optimally combine and the opportunities and the requirements.
Absolutely.
There is one photo in one of your books where an elephant is putting its trunk into a window and is taking something, but you write below that it is actually going for the alcohol that is being brewed there. So are these elephants so addicted to...
They are attracted by the smell of alcohol. When elephants feed on large fruits, there is this fruit called marula.
Okay.
in Africa, the dough palm.
Okay.
So when they feed on that, that starts fermenting in their system, and elephants actually become quite drunk. So here also, because elephants like fruits, and including rotting fruits, they will eat. Very high content of sugars or
Fermented,
whatever
yeah,
that you fermented products and so on that you get from it. And what happens? The life of the poor people in India, in many states, Jharkhand, Chhattisgarh, you brew country-made liquor. And at the end of the day, a hard day's labor, you have to drink it. And the elephant is attracted to the smell of this. And they store them in the houses. So unfortunately, what happens, the elephants come and sometimes demolish the houses and to get the liquor. But the unfortunate consequence of this, it may look very funny, but the consequence of this is that sometimes people are killed because they are, inside the house. They are inside, thatched houses, kind of mud houses and so on, which offer no protection at all for them.
You recently gave a talk on elephant in the room, and you showed literally elephant in the room in some hospital. Is that?
This is an army mess.
Army mess. Oh my God.
Northeast.
And they came for the food there also?
They come for the food that's being cooked in the kitchen perhaps.
Okay.
So elephants, sometimes go to garbage and try to get tidbits. So elephants are also attracted towards processed foods.
Junk food.
And therefore, kitchen, they sometimes raid kitchens. Because you find rice in it, you find cooked rice sometimes. And they try to take that and they feed on it. So elephants generally try to go towards foods that they perceive to be very tasty, to be very palatable, and which may also provide good nutrition and may be easy to digest for them.
Okay. But does it mean that there is a difference between the males and females in terms of the raids that they do? Because I understand that males require a different kind of food composition than the females.
See, male elephants obviously have to have very high levels of nutrition to be able to maintain good body condition and come into must.
Okay.
Now, without coming into must, which is a physiological phenomenon that happens typically once a year, your chances of successfully mating and reproducing are much lowered. It's not that they can't, but it's much lowered.
Okay.
On the other hand, the females have to look at the safety of not only themselves, but also the safety of the calves and the young ones in the family group.
Yeah.
Therefore, what happens essentially is that male elephants are willing to take far greater risks because they kind of sense that the rewards that they can get from taking this high risk strategy of going out into the ragi field, the paddy field, the sugar cane or whatever, and breaking into houses and getting whatever the nutrition from there is going to help them gain body condition. And actually, if you look at in nature, if you look at elephants that are roaming about inside the national parks, and you look at elephants that are crop raiding elephants, the crop raiding elephants are in much better body condition.
So you say reward is better and so they take risk. I would say the reward in terms of their fitness gain is also more because of that, correct?
Potentially yes. Potentially yes.
Okay.
But the risks that they take also means that they may be injured. They may die. So in some sense,
they may be attacked by the farmers.
They may be attacked by the farmers.
Okay, that is the risk. But they get good food out of it. But having gotten good food, they also have a higher probability of getting the mates for mating.
Absolutely.
That brings us to the sexual selection. Now, we know in sexual selection, males compete for the females and females are choosy. Do we have actual examples seen of these females choosing in elephants?
Yes.
Okay.
We have a lot of examples of the female elephants actually choosing male elephants in must for the purpose of mating, then choosing elephants which are not in must.
Okay.
I would say that the preference is very, very marked. And 80 to 90% of the time, when there's a successful mating by a male, it is likely to be a male elephant in must than one not in must.
Okay.
Irrespective of partly irrespective of the age of the elephant.
Okay. I see.
Because even a slightly younger elephant which comes into must is more likely to have a chance to mate with the
Mate
females than elephant which
Okay.
is not in must.
Okay. And the frequency or the ability of a male to now come to must is related to its nutrition?
It is related to the nutrition
And
the duration of must also, and the season in which it comes into must also.
I see. Okay.
Okay, so ideally a bull elephant, a large bull elephant in good body condition should come into must during a time when maximum number of females are in estrus,
Acha.
and that will be during the rainy season
Okay.
typically, or just the post rainy season,
Okay.
when there is a lot of forage available, high quality protein available, therefore the females are cycling, they are coming into estrus. And other younger males typically come into must outside this period. They might be able to get a few matings.
Okay, it's a
But
kind
if-
of opportunistic.
But on the other hand, if they come into must the same time,
They have to
there might
compete
be
with-
conflict.
Acha.
And therefore they might get very badly injured.
So let me get this. The males that are strong, well built, nutritionally well fed are going to come to must for sure, stay in the must for longer period, and hence gain more females for mating. And so they are successful in reproduction, and hence their futures or their culture of raiding the crops would now continue, perhaps because other male elephants also would now copy this process.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is what happens actually. If you look in areas very close to Bangalore, Kolar, Tumkur, Channapatna, Ramnagar, Mandya and so on, you find the male elephants, which are roaming up in the agricultural areas, now forming larger and larger groups, all male groups, in which there's a hierarchy. So you have an older male, you have a middle-aged male, and you have younger males that are attaching themselves to these males. I sometimes say, you have the professor, you have the postdoc,
Okay.
and then you have the students.
Okay.
So these younger males are now learning from the postdocs and from the professors
Okay.
about the bad habits of how to raid crops.
For you and me, bad habits, but for them, okay.
At least for the farmers,
Okay.
and obviously
Okay. Yeah.
they're going to lose a lot of crops, and sometimes people get killed.
Right.
So there is this very interesting new kind of a social organization, social dynamic that's happening. And during my PhD days 40 or 50 years ago, I used to observe these groups coming. That is smaller groups. There used to be 3 or 4 of maximum 4 I have observed joining together and coming. But today it's common to see 10 to 20 males, or maybe even more, all joining together and coming out and raiding crops. So there is a very interesting kind of social hierarchy, dominance, learning process, because elephant behavior is not just inherited behavior. It learns a lot of the behavior from its peers.
Picked up. Acha.
Yeah, and that's what is actually happening here.
Does it mean that from the time you started observing elephants, let us say 82 or so, right, or 80s,
1980, yeah.
1980s, the frequency of crop riding has increased because of this learning of crop riding?
I will put it like this. Definitely, there are many more elephants are now coming out of the forest areas. Therefore, from that simple statistic, the crop raiding has increased.
Okay.
Okay. Now, it is happening in many different parts of the country to different varying extents.
Okay.
In central India, there is a large-scale dispersal of elephants. Elephants are dispersing from Jharkhand and Odisha into South Bengal, eastward. They are also dispersing westward into Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, and even Maharashtra. And therefore, the raiding frequencies have increased enormously.
Acha.
If you come to the south, the raiding frequencies have increased largely because, if you remember during the 1980s and the 1990s, there was a paucity of males in the population because the male elephants with tusks were being targeted by the ivory poachers.
Smugglers. Acha.
And therefore, the relatively few males were left. By the late 90s, very few males were left in the population.
I see.
You had a very skewed sex ratio, male to female ratio.
Okay.
But last 25 years, given good protection, the male population has come back now.
Acha. Okay.
And therefore, in one sense, you can say there are many more males in the population. These males are now dispersing. They are going out and they are raiding crops. So from that angle also, now the frequency of crop raids have increased.
Okay.
Elephants are also expanding their range. Like in Karnataka, elephants were not found to that extent in the coffee plantations in Hassan, for instance. And now they are very, very commonly found in the coffee plantations because the elephant population is also growing.
I'm afraid I might miss 2 points that you were telling. One is you told these males move away from the family. Why should they move away?
See, naturally, any wild population, males are attached to the family only until the age of 10 to 15 years or so. By the time they start now show signs of maturity, sexual maturity, they start coming into must by about 15, incipient, very, very mild must. And they either leave the family of their own accord, or they are gradually pushed out by the rest of the family.
Why? What is the biological
because otherwise
significance?
what will happen is they will now start mating with their own relatives.
Wow.
They could
I
mate
see.
with their own sisters.
Sagotra marriage.
Yeah, which is not very good in biological terms.
Okay.
Therefore, you need to have outbreeding,
Wow.
certain degree of outbreeding.
I see.
So the males are sent out. So there is male dispersal.
Oh,
and
so
these
they
males
know
now,
genetics perhaps through
basically, I mean,
through
this evolved over time.
over time. Okay.
This has been selected for, over many generations.
Okay.
Therefore, these males go out now. They establish their own home range in other areas. So they will not encounter, they are less likely to encounter their own very close relatives for the
Okay.
purpose of
So the
mating.
outbreeding is enhanced.
Outbreeding happens.
The second point you told is that they go out and they now start raiding. Is it likely that the fragmentation or shrinking of the forests that has enhanced the perimeter area which comes in contact with agriculture also has led to this increased
Absolutely.
see.
All other things being equal, if you look at two areas, one is less fragmented and one is more fragmented. The more fragmented area has much higher levels of crop rating.
because they have opportunities to go.
Much greater interface with the agriculture. Imagine an elephant doing a random walk. Okay. Now, elephants don't walk
Unintentionally
at
also
random.
they get into the
Absolutely. They are much more likely to encounter agriculture, when the area is more fragmented. In some cases, they need to move from one forest patch to another forest patch because a single forest patch is not sufficient for them. Typically, elephants, their home ranges are about 300 to about 1,000 square kilometers.
300 to 1000.
About 1,000 square kilometers, depending on the resources, the local environment, circumstances, and
So
so
in
on.
this vast home range, they are likely to encounter the croplands if the forest is shrunk.
That's right. So fragmentation is definitely plays a very important role, or is a very important what I would call a correlate of crop raiding by elephants.
Okay. In your PhD work, you showed a relation between crop raiding for ragi as a requirement of calcium for the. Can you explain on that?
You see, at the end of the day, an animal is taking a certain risk when it goes out
Okay.
into agricultural areas because farmers can retaliate, they can injure an elephant, they can even kill an elephant and so on. They are willing to take risks. So it has to, in biological terms, you have to get some gain
Yeah.
to offset the risk, the
Risk.
cost that you are
Yeah.
likely to incur.
Yeah.
So I just thought about it and I said possibly it is nutritional. Okay. So I started analyzing these plants, food plants that they get from the forest, from the natural habitat, the cultivated plants, and I started comparing the results.
Okay.
And it came out that there are higher levels of protein in the cultivated plants,
Plant.
higher levels of sodium, and higher levels of calcium in plants such as ragi, for instance. And elephants had a great fondness for ragi fields. So that perhaps explains as to why elephants are willing to take risks, much greater risks in going out and raiding crops.
And this calcium perhaps is also required for those strong
It will be for growth of bone, for growth of the bones,
bones.
for
tusks.
growth of the tusks, and
Tusks.
so on. Yeah.
Okay. And you also show in one place, I think with your student Watway, if I am right, that the success of a male elephant is related to the length of the tusk. Is that correct?
I'll put it.
And so why? And
Yeah,
what does?
I'll sort of put it slightly differently. All of us have thought about why do elephants have tusks. They possibly played some role in nutrition, in ancient elephant forms.
Okay.
Later on, they may have been used as a weapon of intimidation, aggression,
Okay.
against other elephants, perhaps. But then very long tusks are very poor as in terms of use as weapon.
Right.
They are subject to breaking. They're not that very strong necessarily. In fact, you find a lot of elephants with broken tusks. So when we had our discussion, Melinda and I, we discussed this quite a lot, and we said this elephants, the long tusks could essentially only be a display. Display to whom? Display perhaps to the females.
Females. Okay.
At that time, a famous paper by Hamilton and Zook, in which they said that, the handicap principle.
Yes.
I mean, you had the handicap principle of Zahavi,
Okay.
which explained the, gorgeous strain of the peacock's feathers,
Yes.
in which
Costly for it
handicap,
and
it's
handicap for it, yeah.
the handicap principle, where the male is kind of displaying that in spite of the handicap, I have got this huge strain of feathers. I am much more prone to predation, yet I have survived. Therefore, they have to have good genes in me, and therefore signaling
Okay.
good genes to the females.
Okay.
Hamilton and Zook took this a step further. So what they said was, what are those good genes? They are possibly related to genes that give better protection to parasitism and diseases.
Okay.
This is what they had said in their paper.
Okay.
So we started looking at parasite loads
Okay.
in the dung of these elephants. So we corrected for tusk length, age, and all of those kinds of things.
Okay.
And we found a nice relationship.
Acha.
That is, other things being equal, male elephants with longer tusks have lower parasite loads.
Okay.
Perhaps, and therefore,
In other words, males with the long tusk are more immune to the parasites. They are more healthy. And so the long tusk displays to the females that, look here, I am the most strong man and more healthy man. Your kids also will be healthy.
Absolutely.
That is the
Absolutely.
message.
Absolutely.
Acha.
Yeah.
Okay. What are other features of male that perhaps will, certify it as a strong male to the female, other than the tusks? Of course, the body you told.
No, must itself.
Must itself.
Must itself, because, at that time, your testosterone levels go up enormously. And testosterone inflicts a cost, both in terms of energy requirement and in terms of your immunity. It's a huge immunity burden, a big energy cost. And therefore, males are advertising. I am able to, I have this burden
Okay.
of testosterone. My metabolic rate has gone up. My immunity is probably compromised to a certain extent. But I'm able to express this.
Okay.
So that is one. And you have this interesting phenomena of the tuskless male elephants. Tuskless males.
I see.
You have a very large proportion, 50-60% or even 70% of the male elephants in northeast India, and almost 100% of the males in Sri Lanka not having tusks. Now what happens? So these, we think, are alternative kind of strategies. That is, a tusked male is now putting energy into the growth of tusks,
Okay.
and as a sexual display. The tuskless males are perhaps growing larger in body size. They are investing their energy into more robust body build,
Okay.
and perhaps more intense expression of must.
I see.
So these are things that it's very difficult to test in a wild
Yes,
population.
I mean, I
We have done
understand.
some tests,
Yes.
and there are indications that might be true.
Okay.
Because you actually study elephants, you realize the biggest elephants are not the tusked males. They are these tuskless males, called the makhanas. These are sometimes enormous, even 11 feet in height.
Okay.
They're enormous elephants.
Yeah. So in the sexual selection, there are these two components. One is female choosing the male, which of course now you say the display and the females choose. And other is male-male competition.
Right.
Which means male literally compete. What you are telling is a kind of passive competition, that I have long tusks or I have large body, so I am a better male than. There's a passive competition. Is there an active, real fight among the males?
There can be.
There can be. And
There
have you
can
ever
be.
seen any of those?
I have seen. I have not seen it unto the death, but it does happen. So many.
Achha.
It is quite rare. See, if you actually try to, examine all this within game theory, you will find that very large animals, have much lower incidence of fighting. Okay, as compared to very small animals.
That's
Now,
interesting.
Yeah, because what happens is, see, you have to retreat. Otherwise, you are going to inflict any kind of an injury that you suffer. You are going to lose out completely. Because if you are injured, you're not going to be able to maintain good body condition. you're not going to be able to come into must. So it's very rare generally for two male elephants to
So the
have a
cost
very
of
serious
conflict increase with the size of the animal, and so you guess the real physical combats may be less in.
But it happens. It happens. And sometimes one elephant gores the other elephant to death. It happens once in a while.
I see.
Yeah. But apart from that, very often, therefore, the expression of must itself is a display. And the other males kind of keep away from, once a bull is in must, I don't want to mess around with a bull in must, if I'm not in must, for instance.
Okay.
So it's a conflict avoidance mechanism.
Okay. So the must gland produces this pheromone, which will be oozing out of that organ. And does it actually send a signal to the female that, look here, I'm ready, we are ready to now get mated with?
It sends signals to other males to keep away. It sends signals to females that I'm in must, and therefore, you should perhaps select me for mating with, and so on. The nature of all of that, because very often sometimes you see female elephants going and sniffing the must gland of a male elephant.
I see. That is when they come nearby. See, you say 300 to 1000 square kilometers is the home range, right? Now, male elephant is somewhere riding the crop, has gotten into the forest, and females are somewhere. How far away these glands can communicate?
That's right. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, elephants obviously have a very good sense of smell, because of the long nose. Long nose is a kind of a supreme organ
Antenna
of smell.
Okay.
Supreme organ of smell.
Okay.
They can smell things from several kilometers away.
Wow. I see.
Possibly. Yeah.
I see.
I don't know if very detailed work on this has been done, but obviously the proboscis, the trunk, is a very, very long nose. On the other hand, elephants can also, the males also go and rub their must gland against the trees. So sometimes females can detect that. So there must be different ways in which they are broadcasting this.
Okay.
This
Number
signal.
one, distributing the pheromone, and number two, spreading in the air, and of course this trunk, which is called as arm by some people, so senses at a height, and so there is a long scale communication. When it comes to communication, I also understand, correct me if I am wrong, that elephants are poor in their vision. Is that true?
This is what biologists who examine the eye of an elephant say. Their vision is not very acute. They don't have color vision.
They don't have.
They don't have color vision. And many animals, most herbivores don't have color vision.
Okay.
They also don't have color vision. But apart from that, they see the world in shades of grey. From black to white in shades of grey. Their eyesight is probably they say as good as a human.
Oh, that's good enough.
Maybe I don't know.
Okay.
Therefore, sometimes displays are very important. So very often you will find a male elephant displaying its body size by standing tall, by spreading its ears, by spreading tall, trying to be larger than what it actually is, and so on. So it's kind of displaying, kind of deterrence to the other.
In one of your talks, you told, when you spoke about the display of the ears, I remember, in one of your talks, you told, when they spread their ears, be careful. Is it really a signal that they send out?
No, it is a different kind of a signal. See, what happens is when the ears are spread out, I think what they are trying to do is they are trying to get the direction from which the disturbance is coming.
I see.
So you are there, or there is some sound, something, and they spread their ears to get a better. It's more like an antenna.
Radar.
Like a radar. Absolutely right. And that's when it's you have to be very careful. Because they can really chase you, in such a state.
Okay. Have you ever been chased by elephants?
Being chased by elephants is part of the game.
But still
but I think the real bravery is not about getting chased by an elephant, because you can't outchase an elephant. In a vehicle, keeping ahead of an elephant, I kind of clocked the speed of a running elephant at full tilt, at full go.
Okay.
They can easily go at about 30 kilometers an hour, and we can't go anywhere unless you're an Olympic sprinter.
Our speed is not more than 5 to 8 kilometers.
Or 10 or 15 or whatever. An Olympic sprinter may do more than that. So when you observe elephants, put yourself in a position where you make sure that you don't get chased. You don't get detected.
Uh,
No, the wind direction is a very simple way of doing it.
Okay.
If the wind is blowing from an elephant towards you,
Be careful.
no, you are safe. If the
From
wind
the
is blowing
elephant towards you. Okay.
from you to the elephant can detect you very well.
I see.
Because the sight is not very good.
Okay.
So try not to put yourself in a position that an elephant can detect you, because then the behavior becomes unnatural. Then as a scientist also, what point are you trying to make? What data are you going to collect? You want to collect data under natural conditions.
Yeah.
But you do get chased. It will happen, and so it's part of the life of studying.
For you, it's very easy to say don't get detected and be. No, you have the experience. But for a common man like me who goes into the forest, we don't even know where the elephant is. So how do we now really guess which direction the wind is flowing? Of course, an experienced man like you can always now perhaps detect, based on the dung and such things. But can you hear elephants in the forest?
You can hear them. You can hear them breaking branches. You can sometimes hear them. Some of their sound communications.
Sound communication. Branches we also perhaps can, but sound communication also.
Sound communication like rumbles, for instance. You can feel it. You can, you can get the rumbles from the intestine.
My God.
Yeah. You do. Sometimes you do that.
I see.
And so on. So so you have to also be very, very alert when you are going into the jungle. All your senses have to be tuned. Sometimes you can smell an elephant. You can smell an elephant.
I see. I can smell the dung of the elephant, but
you can smell an elephant, especially the elephant is in musk. You can smell the musk.
My God.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a very pungent kind of a smell. Got a very peculiar smell.
I see.
And you can. If the wind is in the right direction
Achha.
from the elephant to you, you can smell an elephant.
Okay. Now, when it comes to this smelling and all that, of course, where do they smell? You told their trunk is very long, but where actually in the trunk they actually sense the smells?
It's a good question. It obviously inhales the air.
Okay.
Through the long trunk, and where exactly the organs of smell are located is a very good question. But I don't know. I can't give you an answer straight away.
Oh my God! I say it's not known yet.
I don't know. It will be known, but I'm not sure I can explain it to you straight away.
I see.
Yeah,
okay.
I know when the elephant is trying to detect estrus in a female, it samples a urine, that is let out by a female elephant, and takes a small amount, and there is a pair of glands called the vomeronasal glands, in which it's like an assay.
I see.
It can.
Okay.
It senses.
I see.
There are certain chemicals, acetates, that are let out, pheromones let out by the female, which is ready for mating. So it can sense that. Now, in terms of a broader smell, the sense of smell, which organs actually, it senses.
I thought it's in the tip, but it may be somewhere inside.
It can't be. It has to be somewhere.
Somewhere inside.
Yeah, somewhere inside. No, I mean, obviously, see, there are, throughout the trunk, there are sensory, cells. Cells are there throughout.
Okay.
Obviously, the number of the sense of smell of an elephant is obviously there distributed in terms of the sensory.
The whole tube
throughout the trunk inside.
Okay.
And they can, but how exactly
it's gathered
and processed and so on and so forth is not something that I'm very sure about.
Now let us come back to this conflict. What do you like to call it as? Human-elephant conflict or elephant-human conflict?
No, it's both ways.
It's both ways.
It's an interaction. It's a negative interaction. So I sometimes use the term elephant-human conflict when elephants are making an impact on people by damaging crops, by killing people, damaging property. And human-elephant conflict when you have humans going and destroying elephants' habitat or killing them or poaching them or whatever. So it's a negative interaction.
It's a negative interaction. And consequences of that, if you want to now look at, let us say, on elephants and on humans, what is the kind of estimate of the death of elephants because of this conflict and humans attacking on that? Not the natural poaching and all, but because of conflict on the crop raiding
You see,
areas.
The impact on the elephant is such that elephants, the death rate of elephants which are going out into agricultural areas is about 5 times the rate of what they would normally experience inside the forest area.
My God.
5 times more.
So the question is really relevant.
But
then.
not all of them are going out.
It's okay.
Okay, only some of them are going out, but they experience a much higher mortality rate or death rate when they go out. So that is definitely there. Now, when it comes to humans, across India today, last year, close to 630 people were killed by wild elephants. A vast majority, by that I mean 90% plus, when elephants and people encounter each other, either in a settlement or in agricultural fields. Maybe about 10 to 15% when people are walking through a forest and they stumble upon
random encounter.
That kind of an encounter.
Otherwise, it's 90% because of face-to-face.
Face-to-face. When elephants are coming into agricultural areas, into settlements, either people are trying to chase them away and the elephants chase them, or whatever other kinds of encounters that happen. That's what happens. But this is a number that's been growing. Yeah, I see 1980, 81 when I started my study, I remember about 125 people across the country, approximately. That's the figures I got at that time, were being killed by wild elephants. Today the number has grown to about 630.
5 times, 6 times.
About 5 times. About 5 times.
5 times. Is it because of increasing ridings? Or is it because of increasing number of elephants going and human population also rising?
I think there is an increasing encounter between elephants and people. Okay. Now between 1980 and presently, the elephant population has probably about doubled across the country. Okay. I'll not get into semantics about approximately. Let's say it has probably about doubled. The human population was about 700 million at that time. And today is 1,400 million. It's also doubled.
Yeah.
So 2 into 2 is equal to 4. Okay. And now the elephants are also expanding their range to some extent.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think the frequency of encounters.
And we are also encroaching into their. So the proportion is increasing. So as a scientist who has worked so much on that, what is your solution? What is your suggestion?
The solutions are very, very challenging. They are not easy. But it's very important for us to be very practical. Takes these decisions earlier than later. Because the problem is now growing to such an extent that solutions, practical solutions, will become very, very difficult. Solutions that are cognizant of elephant welfare, will become very, very difficult over time. What I would suggest is that elephants being such large creatures, certainly we should look at their protection, their conservation in larger landscapes. We should look at landscapes which are relatively large, which are least fragmented, which can hold viable populations of elephants, and focus our conservation efforts within these landscapes. Now, this is something that Project Elephant did 30 or 40 years ago, when Project Elephant reserves were designed. Now, there are still going to be elephants outside these areas. Now, even within these areas, you will have human settlements. So, there has to be a certain level of coexistence between elephants and people. And there are settlements within these landscapes. But today what's happening is more and more elephants are now coming out of these landscapes and they are roaming about in agricultural areas, in settlements, coming into villages, coming into cities, killing people, terrorizing people essentially and farmers, getting into areas where elephants have not been there for the last several hundred years. And moving into these are kind of, colonizing South Bengal where, there's no real natural habitat available for elephants. Moving across long distances in Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh, perhaps recolonizing areas where elephants had disappeared by the end of the Mughal rule. And so on. Now, these are posing big, big challenges. And what I would say is that elephants, we should also be very careful about promoting the persistence of elephants in these areas. Not everywhere. You need to do an assessment of where perhaps there are good forests where elephants might settle down. There are other areas where elephants have no chance of settling down because there is no natural habitat. What is happening is 50, 60, 70% of the diet is essentially agricultural produce. And so we are subsidizing these elephants to a very, very large extent. And that subsidy is increasing over time. Therefore, I see no other possibility but to remove the elephants from those areas.
Acha.
Maybe put them back in forest areas which can hold elephants. Or perhaps, if absolutely necessary, an elephant has killed many people, no chance of it settling down, you may have to keep it in captivity.
Captivity. Okay. So in other words, you suggest that one need not be taking an extreme view on being very considerate to the animal welfare. One has to be also consider the human welfare and look at a compromising strategy of holding the elephants back in areas where they belong to. I mean, they belong to everywhere and we also belong to everywhere, but a kind of a compromise.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the only way that we can coexist. We can coexist. Elephants can be there in the conservation areas which have national parks, sanctuaries. People and elephants have to coexist in areas where you have settlements within these landscapes. But then the elephants are coming out and wandering widely. In no other country, is this something that is tolerated.
In fact, that's exactly another question I had. This human-elephant conflict seems to be more severe in India than in other countries. Am I correct?
Partly because, our levels of tolerance are very, very high. India and Sri Lanka, to a certain extent, are very, very high. In many countries, such elephants would be eliminated.
I see.
Would be shot.
I see.
Legally, in many parts in many African countries, an elephant is outside a protected area. You can kill an elephant. The levels of deterrence are much higher in those countries. And
elephants also learn that they are the no-go zone areas.
Absolutely. So we have a certain conservation ethos, which we should be proud of. Elephant is considered sacred in our cultures and so on. And we should definitely sort of maintain that culture to the extent that we can. But I don't think we should test the patience of the common man, the farmer, because they are the ones who suffer a lot.
And also their economy and their livelihood, just as elephant is important.
Absolutely. And the matter is getting completely out of hand today.
Coming back to perhaps the final elements that I want to know from you, Professor Sukumar, can you tell me 2 or 3 stories that you perhaps remember as the most touching stories of your work in while doing research on elephants?
See, I don't want to give you any dramatic story of being chased by an elephant
or whatever. I love to have dramatic stories.
No,
because we have gone through the drama, but we have not seen that drama, or we have not experienced it.
Those dramas. Those happen a lot, and I think they're sometimes overstated.
Okay.
But nevertheless, to me, there's one scene that still sticks in my mind.
Okay.
This was towards the end of my PhD research. I'm in the jungle. I'm by the side of a small stream. I'm sitting near the rocks. And late in the evening, if you're in a jungle, you will find there is something in the atmosphere. The gentle atmosphere. By atmosphere, I mean not in the air. There's a certain calm. The birds, they stop chirping. The other animal sounds now slowly start coming up. It is that period when after sunset and before it becomes dark.
The silence dance.
There's a silence there, absolutely. That the kind of just after sunset.
Okay.
So I'm sitting by the side of a small stream near the rocks, and suddenly I turn behind. I see dark shapes coming from behind me, going towards the stream. Okay. Now, I'm not a big adventurer. I don't, try to be very brave and, try to challenge elephants and be there or whatever. There's nothing I could do. But that day, somehow, looking at the elephants, I just felt a total calm. I was absolutely not frightened at all. I had absolutely no fear. This elephant family just passed by me very, very closely. They went to the stream. The stream is gurgling, that's the only sound. You don't hear the sound of the elephants at all. And then they cross. And then one little calf slips. And then the mother, puts its trunk beneath the elephant and assists the little calf, little baby, And then they cross the stream, and then the dark shapes, they just pass and they go there.
Okay.
So, in one sense, if you ask me, the perfect example of man, or humans and elephant coexisting, without any fear.
Yeah.
So that's something I still, that particular experience has been unmatched since then.
I can.
Okay. Let me give you another example. It's not about my jungle craft, about the jungle craft of the tribal people. Our Kurbas and Sholagas and similar tribal people who live in the jungles, who know the signs of the elephant, they are far superior to us in terms of anticipating, where an elephant is, where there is a danger, how to keep away from an elephant, how to retreat from a dangerous situations, and so on. Okay. I was with a group of students in Bandipur in, if I remember correctly, in June 1997. And we were trekking inside Bandipur. It's a fairly open area, an area near a place called Kanyanpur.
Okay.
And we were walking and we were doing some analysis of the vegetation, the plants and that sort of a thing. And at one point we were just walking. My Kurba tracker, Shivaji, he just put up his hand. And, all of us just stood still.
Okay.
No words exchanged. He bent down. He picked up one green leaf from the ground in an otherwise slightly dry area. He just showed it to me. I immediately knew what he was trying to signal. There is an elephant right around. It's a very, very fresh leaf. It has just been plucked and put there.
My God.
Okay. We just quietly retreated. Not a word spoken, not a sound. And just by the side of us, we saw the back of a huge elephant that just passed us and went.
My God.
Very peaceful scene. We were not attacked by an elephant. We were not attacked.
You described it very nicely. A small piece of grass dropped down from its mouth, telling a big story.
He just picked it up. And, he just picked it up and showed. I immediately knew. So, now what is intelligence in a jungle?
Survival.
It is that survival instinct in which our indigenous people, tribal people, they are superb in this kind of a knowledge, in terms of a knowledge.
When you're telling, I'm remembering, rather I was thinking myself, those people have been living in the forest with the elephants and facing elephants for thousands of years. The rate of deaths they encounter could be there, but certainly not as high as perhaps we encounter when an elephant comes to our area.
Most probably.
Right.
And a lot of the deaths actually take place when elephants are coming into agricultural areas, where the farmers are the ones who are getting killed and so on.
So there is so much knowledge that need to be perhaps picked up from, like you told about Palakapya, and
I mean, many of our tribals are probably Palkapiyas. Absolutely.
Palkapiyas,
our tribal people. So we need to listen to them.
Okay.
And even when we plan conservation, I very strongly feel we have to get inputs from them as to how do they feel that we should coexist.
That's
with
very
elephants.
nicely told, Dr. Sukumar. You have any other incidents to share with? These are fantastic.
I don't think so.
Okay. And I have a personal desire to know, you traveled across the world for your books, especially the story of Asian elephants. I also see that there is an element of preparedness in your mind. You simply have not gone randomly and have taken photographs and then compiled the book. Perhaps you had this in your mind. Of course, you relate that to your discussion with Lahiri and Madhav. But to have this kind of organized trips, attention to take photographs and all that is a lesson that perhaps youngsters should now learn. If you have something as a target in your life, the preparations that you need when you move across. Of course, opportunities do come to people, and how does you make use of these opportunities to convert that into this final product is a lesson that I think youngsters should learn. Can you expand on that? What all?
You need to go prepared. I mean, my travels for conferences or other academic engagements or whatever, it's taken me around the world. So I read a lot, and you read about elephants, you read ancient texts, you read historical accounts, you read historians' accounts of monuments, depiction of Ganesha, depiction of elephants in art, and so on and so forth. And you get an understanding of where various art forms are kept. It could be ancient Ganeshaiah in a cave in Madhya Pradesh is probably one of the most ancient Ganeshas ever known. Or it could be a particular painting in a museum in Europe, for instance. So you have to go prepared. So when you go there, you use that opportunity to go and look for this, and try to record it, photograph it, and so on. So I always gone prepared, for these kinds of opportunities. At the same time, you come across surprises.
Achha. Okay.
Let me give you one surprise.
Okay.
See, we talk about Asian elephant having been tamed, put to the use of humans through our history. And very often people ask me, what about the African elephant? We know that the African elephant had also been tamed. The Carthaginians had tamed the elephant in North Africa.
Achha.
And a general called Hannibal had taken these elephants, 37 of these elephants, across the Alps, had crossed the ocean at Gibraltar, gone into Spain. From there, taken it through the overland route across the Alps. In his, he wanted to conquer Rome.
Achha.
Okay. Now there's a lot written about Hannibal and his elephants that have gone, and his journey across the Alps. First, how do you take all these elephants across the Alps? Very cold area, very mountainous area. But all his elephants were taken across. That's a remarkable story by itself. Now everybody has assumed that the elephants that Hannibal took across the Alps were African elephants. In the British Museum, I came across a porcelain figure which comes from northern Italy around the same time. It's from a region called Etruria. At the time that Hannibal actually had come into the region, and to his assault on Rome failed eventually, but this porcelain is from that area. The label on that simply said elephant Etruria and this particular time period. I looked at that elephant. I found there are two domes on the skull of that elephant. Straight away, that's an Asian elephant. African elephants do not have a dome. Period. So that particular elephant was not an African elephant. It was an Asian elephant. Then the question is, did Hannibal have an Asian elephant? Then you go into the textual literature. Apparently, Hannibal rode an elephant called Surus. Surus means the Syrian. The Syria is in Asia. And there were elephants in Syria, or whatever, in ancient times, as you know. So in all likelihood, Hannibal himself rode an Asian elephant into battle. Of course, he had African elephants. But he had the elephant that he rode was a trained Asian elephant.
Which is easy to handle.
Which is probably already been trained by mahouts who have probably come from India and helped them train it or God knows what.
Possibly,
So this kind of brings back the question of how ancient the trade was between ancient Rome and India.
And that one piece that you
particular piece that, I managed to interpret it very differently.
Very true. Sukumar, you are among the, the movers of the Project Elephant in India, the flagship project that perhaps set an example to the entire world on conservation. I'm sure the country would be willing to know the essential outcomes of that and how it has saved elephant in our country.
See, Project Elephant was conceived of in 1989. And a task force was set up by the Indian government to prepare the action plan for the conservation of the elephant. So I was a part of the task force, and we spent about 2 to 3 years in going around the country and trying to understand what the various issues were. And the approach that we took was the landscape approach. So the landscape approach essentially is that the elephant is a species where you can't define a small core zone and a buffer zone like what they did in Project Tiger. You need to look at it at a larger scale. But once you go to larger scales, you also have the problems of human settlements, agriculture, people, so you have to really kind of bring about a reconciliation of the interests of the elephant and the people. But nevertheless, what we came up with the conceptual framework we came up with was that you can protect elephants across landscapes. And that habitat connectivity is very important, at least within the landscapes. You make sure that no further fragmentation takes place. And that the problem of conflict was just emerging, was already there.
Yeah.
And therefore conflict resolution was very important. Control of poaching, because in the 1980s we had a big wave of poaching in South India, and therefore control of poaching was very important. And also the welfare of elephants in captivity, because even at that time we had something like 3,000 elephants in captivity.
I see.
Under different kind of ownership, management systems and so on. In temples, forest camps, individuals had elephants, zoos. So the Project Elephant took a very holistic view.
Acha. Of both wild and the
captive elephants, and kind of gave this particular framework. Now, one very positive thing was that poaching, I think the protection efforts were stepped up considerably, and the incidence of poaching by the end of the last century, came down, at least in South India. So that was a big positive outcome. The landscapes, 10 Project Elephant landscapes were defined.
Wow, okay.
Across the country, and I played a role in designing all the Project Elephant reserves in South India. The four Project Elephant reserves in South India. Habitat connectivity was very important. So a lot of corridors were identified where there is a possibility that in the future the connectivity might break.
Okay.
Therefore, you need to focus to make sure no adverse development happens in those areas. So that was done. That was a positive thing. At that time, we recognized that the populations that are coming into conflict, there are some problems, some populations that we called as problem populations.
Okay.
Unfortunately, if I may say so, there has not been a very concerted effort to come up with a policy on how you deal with these conflicts, especially if they are outside these landscapes. There are these elephants that are dispersing and going out, wandering, widely across agricultural areas, settlements, going from one state to another state. For that, I don't think that we have come up with sufficiently robust policies that can solve the problem. On the other hand, a lot of attempts have been made, digging trenches, putting up electric fences and so on to try and solve conflicts otherwise, which have met with only partial success. But I still think we have to come to grips with finding practical solutions for minimizing conflicts.
I tend to see that on the last issue that arose, there seemed to be an arms race going on between you as conservationists and the elephants as the subjects there. I saw a couple of videos, one shown by you also, how elephants use their electricity resistant organs to now break the electric fences.
Right.
And
Right.
I mean, they're so intelligent.
No, absolutely.
And you are dealing with such intelligent creature, so it's very difficult to now really resolve that.
Absolutely. I know you are absolutely right in that it's been a really big challenge. Sometimes we think that we can use technology. But technology also has limitations because the elephant also has a brain. Yeah, the elephant also has a brain.
Right.
It can also think its way out of problems. How to tackle something. You are trying to put a restraint, and unless you are having something very physical, which you just cannot break just by brute force, elephant is able to overcome it. So there are lots and lots of challenges, lots of learnings that have happened in the last 30 years. But using this knowledge, we have to kind of redesign our conflict mitigation strategy.
Okay. It's very generous of you to now have accepted that in the whole three elements of this Project Elephant, the last element is partially successful. But let us now celebrate the fact that the very concept of Project Elephant has laid down a strong foundation for the conservation of elephants in the country. But for that, we don't know what would have happened. And in that sense, I think we all need to congratulate you and your team for those initial steps that have been taken. Not only they help in conservation of the elephants, but also in their habitats, which means in turn so many other species are conserved. And also they serve as a good example or model for the future if similar projects are to be taken up.
No, certainly. And I always say that if you look at southern India, primarily the states of Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Kerala, our elephant populations, our habitats are fairly stable. And if you talk about prospects for survival, the best prospects for survival are here. Because we have got a good population of elephants.
Okay.
We got the habitat itself is quite stable. These elephant reserves are fairly compact. There are. I'm not saying that the entire thing is a contiguous elephant population, but still we have large landscapes. We have large viable populations, and they have benefited a number of host of other species. Like if, for instance, you take the Mysore, Nilgiri, Wayanad elephant reserves in the 3 states. You will find that it is the largest population of elephant, the largest global population of tiger, the largest global population of gaur, possibly the largest global population of a host of other species.
So the unintended outcomes of this project. That's
absolutely.
So there is so much of things that we have harvested because of that, and so congratulations for that.
Thank you. I played a small role in it.
No, that's okay, but you were one among the instrumental people. My another question is, now that you have spent your life, you have tried to conserve them, what do you think is the future of elephants? Let us say when you, me and all of us disappear from this world.
No, I am very optimistic.
Okay.
One reason is that with or without human assistance, I think the elephant is a very resilient species.
Okay.
Elephant as a species is very resilient.
Okay.
It can adapt to a wide variety of environments.
Very good. Okay.
And therefore the elephant will survive.
Okay.
And I am very optimistic that in the south, we have done sufficient such that the elephant is fairly safe in southern India. Unless barring major catastrophes, I mean, if climate change, for instance, we have not really discussed that very much, causes major changes to the nature of the elephant habitat. That could pose problems. But I think in the south, with a population of perhaps 12,000, maybe 15,000 elephants in the south overall, I think the prospects for long-term conservation are very good.
Okay. Now, it prompts me to tell you that on behalf of all those elephants, I think I would like to thank you from the point of elephants that have been conserved and saved and protected through all these efforts.
Thank you, and I think I should also thank the elephants for having given me a wonderful life.
I will convey that to them.
Thank you, Ganesh.
Thank you.